Hi guys, it is Nick here with Nick's Topics. I'm going to be covering my first topic video, which is, what if Shane from The Walking Dead was not killed by Rick? This is going to be a multiple-parter. Hope you guys are in for that. Basically, through the entirety of my YouTube channel, I'm going to be covering multiple Walking Dead and Dragon Ball what if topics. Basically, The Walking Dead will come first because, as I've found out, there is much more to explore at the moment with The Walking Dead. So, without further ado, grab your popcorn, grab something to drink, and let's dive in. We begin at the clearing, where Shane is about to put a bullet in Rick's back after staging the events with Randall. But instead of Rick about to kill Shane, he restrains him completely. But Shane still pulls a gunshot to a distant part of the valley, alerting the Horde, unbeknownst to the both of them. Rick basically tells Shane to leave the group and never return, telling Shane that everything that has transpired will be told to the group, especially Lori and Carl. Never able to earn their respect back, ever again. Shane knows this, and knows that Rick is telling the truth, that he has no way to escape this. At that time, the Horde begins to draw near. Shane begins to see this, and runs off into a distant part of the woods, away from the Horde. Now you might be asking, why didn't no one else go with Shane? Did anyone know Shane was gone? Anyone spy? No. The only one that was near the events was Carl. And just as Shane was running off, Rick was running towards the farm, seeing Carl run up towards the field, not even knowing that Shane was there. And the only one that remotely liked Shane, in a way, was Andrea. And even if she had seen Shane, if she had known that he was going to kill Rick, or at least attempt to, she would never respect him again. And since Rick did not kill Shane, the entire group would escape to the area which they had been in the original, and Rick would tell them that Shane tried to attempt to kill him. And he told Shane to never return. The group, especially Lori and Carl, understood Rick more. And Lori was less upset about the situation as she had been in the original, whenever Rick told her that he killed him. And Carl barely shed any tears. Meanwhile, Shane meets up with the governor. Now you might be asking, how in the frig does Shane meet up with someone like the governor? Well, I'll explain. Shane had run off to a distant part, a distant area away from the area that Rick and the others had ran, basically. So he would more likely be able to meet up with the governor than go to the area which the prison was in. He would go to Woodbury and find the governor and tell him all about what had transpired and warn him about Rick and his group. He would also see that Merle was alive. If you guys remember, Merle was alive in the original and met up with the governor. He would also eventually find the governor's zombified daughter, and basically tell the governor straight up that she isn't sick, that she is not a person, that all she does is kill. The governor would eventually have to accept reality, trusting Shane's word, knowing what he says is true, and do the murder himself. But he wasn't happy about it. As a matter of fact, he only raged at himself for not believing it sooner, for having to do it to his own flesh and blood. This inspired him to take Shane's word and go after Rick's group, taking his vengeance on anyone who defied him. But before that could happen, Michonne and Andrea are eventually shown up to the area. If you guys remember correctly, Michonne and Andrea were eventually taken to Woodbury. But this time, the zombified daughter of the governor's was not around, so there was less of Michonne to expect or to be suspicious of. And Andrea would see Shane. Shane told Andrea straight out that he escaped from the Horde, that he was trying to help Rick, but he was split up. Andrea, taking Shane's word, decided that it would be best for them to stick together. Meanwhile, Carl, Herschel, Beth, Maggie, Glenn, T-Dog, Daryl, Carol, and Rick were all at the prison, and the events come to pass per the original. They eventually meet up with the prisoners, and those events transpire the same way. Laurie's pregnancy eventually advances. Herschel still loses his leg. T-Dog sacrifices himself for Carol. Eventually the events transpire more, and Laurie's pregnancy advances to the point where Carl is once again forced to kill his mom. Around that time, Tyrese, Sasha, Karen, and David arrive near the prison. Rick is getting into the savage self that he was in the original. Shane, the governor, Merle, Andrea, and Michonne, and some of the governor's soldiers arrived at the prison. Shane was the first to lay eyes upon Rick, out killing zombies and anger for the death of his wife. Meanwhile, Daryl finds Merle in a deeper part of the prison. Seeing the two of them together, Merle realizes that nothing happened to Daryl, that Rick wasn't really out to kill his brother, so he had less incentive to take anyone hostage or act anywhere near as rude as he did in the original. Daryl sees Andrea and Michonne. Michonne is about to unleash her blade on Daryl, but Daryl shoots an arrow straight through Michonne, as he did in a flashback of Michonne in Season 10 of the original. Since Merle knew Andrea back in Season 1, he is more inclined to spare her life as Daryl is, since they both know she did this not of her own accord. Meanwhile, Rick and Shane are in a fight, but the fight is one-sided. Rick is so angry over the loss of Laurie that he begins to pound on Shane mercilessly. Carl sees this and yells at them both, saying to both of them, "What are you two doing? My mother is dead. Don't you care?" After hearing this, Shane has the same mental breakdown, and the fight doesn't become one-sided anymore. The two of them get into a battle of epic proportions, both not holding back a single punch. Eventually, the two of them become even more weaker with each blow, and it looks like it could have a tied match. Carl restrains them both by shooting them both in the leg, yelling out to both of them, "My mother is dead, didn't you hear me? Why are you two always fighting? You were best friends before all this. Since my mom's dead, can't you two make up and be friends? There's nothing to fight over anymore." Hearing Carl's words and knowing that the boy is right, Rick and Shane both stand each other up. Shortly after, they find Judith, who is still around, believe it or not, and they all work together to find a way out of the prison and save the others. Meanwhile, Daryl and Merle have killed the governor with a surprise attack from Merle and Daryl putting out the governor's lights. With the group bigger than it was originally, they advance out of the prison, knowing that it won't be safe anymore. Now you might be asking, what happens to Woodbury now? Well, since the governor isn't there anymore and no really strong soldiers, it would basically be taken over. That means Lizzie, Mika, all those people, they would basically be killed. Woodbury would basically become a ghost town. Eventually, the big group would meet up with Abraham, Rosita, and Eugene. And they would all travel together and find the signs toward Terminus. Eventually, they would meet up with the cannibals, and they'd be greeted by Gareth, unbeknownst to all of them that they were all cannibals. But having Shane and Merle there, and having a bigger group and bigger knowledge of their surroundings, they would all see that all is not right. They would all think to themselves, this is a sanctuary. Where's all the people? Why is there so few of people? Then they would slowly realize, before Gareth and the others had time to actually attack, this is no sanctuary. So, an epic battle of guns begins. Unfortunately, a gunshot rings out, and Herschel is killed in the ensuing frenzy. Yes, Herschel does still die. He would have died eventually, be old age, a bite, a gunshot. In the original, he lived to the governor, which was impressive, but we all knew that he was going to die eventually. It can't be very well happy ending. Even if he had survived the cannibals, he would have died like not even close to Alexandria. Dale didn't live that long in the series either, dying in season 2. Anyway, after Herschel's death, Beth and Maggie load down on the rest of the cannibals, including Gareth, and kill them all, not leaving a single one to be spared. Eventually, Carl and Rick split off in search for other supplies, medicines, etc., and meet up with Morgan once again, except this time, no Michonne, but Morgan's still refusing to come along. Eventually also, they would meet up with the Claimers. Glenn, Abraham, Eugene, Rosita, Tyrese, Sasha, and Carol would low down on the Claimers, but unfortunately, one would not make it. Andrea would be killed by one of the Claimers as a hostage, living longer than she did in the original. Eventually, they would also meet up with Gabriel at his church. And the events leading to Washington, D.C., and from then on out, were relatively the same, just like the original. Until they meet up with Aaron, and eventually be brought to Alexandria. And that is where I'm going to stop. I'm sorry I forgot about that one little part, but I think I've done a pretty good analysis of the story so far. I hope you guys have enjoyed this part. I really enjoyed making this. And if you have any other speculation that you would like to add, anything else that you think would happen, let me know. Press a like on this video, sub if you haven't already, and I will be making another video like this next Tuesday. But for now, links for my other channels will be in the description below, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Bye!